You're about to watch Luma and Kling graded on 5 tests, and neither one sweeps. Luma is the model people point to for that cinematic, physically accurate look. Kling is the one that's been climbing the leaderboards and beating everybody on price. One of them takes quality, the other takes speed, and a couple of these tests end in a flat tie. By the end, you'll know exactly which one deserves your money for the project you're working on. Test 1 is output quality, and this is the one that ruins a project if you get it wrong. Pick the lower quality model for a client piece, and every clip looks like a rough draft next to whatever your competitor rendered. On the 2026 Video Arena leaderboard, built from thousands of blind community votes, Kling's newer versions sit at or near the top. A separate independent leaderboard from LLMstats.com puts Kling in the number 1 spot too. Luma's Ray models still hold a solid top 10 position, so it isn't getting blown out, but it isn't the top-ranked model in either snapshot anymore. When two separate community leaderboards land on the same answer, that's not a coincidence. Test 1 goes to Kling. Here's a quick thing before we move on. Drop a comment if quality matched what you've seen in your own renders, because this is exactly the kind of category where hands-on experience tells you more than any leaderboard number. The popular narrative online still says Luma owns this category, but the current data says something different. That's 1-0, Kling. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. Okay, so Kling took quality. Test 2 is generation speed, and speed is the one that decides whether you can hit a deadline, or you're stuck refreshing a loading bar while a client waits. Independent hands-on testing puts Luma at around 2 minutes for a 5-second clip by default, while Kling's standard render runs somewhere in the 2 to 5 minute range for similar output. That's a real gap for anyone rendering on a tight schedule. Kling does have a turbo mode that can cut render times down by a lot, with some tests showing full renders finishing in 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So judged on the default experience, Luma takes this one back. But that's a different mode from the one most people are using by default. That's 1-to-1, tied up. Test 3 is pricing and credits, and this is the category that decides whether you're still using either tool a month from now. Get this wrong, and you're either paying for headroom you'll never touch, or burning through credits by day 3. Kling gives every logged-in user a real daily free allowance, and its entry paid tier runs around $7 to $9 a month. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Both companies run region and promo pricing on top, so treat these numbers as a moving target. For anyone just getting started or working at a normal volume, Kling's free tier and lower entry price make it the safer place to put your first dollar. Test 3 goes to Kling. Now, the next two tests are the ones everybody assumes are a landslide one way or the other, and honestly, they're not. Stick around because this next one flips expectations a bit. Luma's cheapest paid plan starts higher, close to $30, though its higher tiers scale usage up faster past that entry point. That's 2-to-1, Kling. Stick with me, because the last 4 tests are where this decision actually flips. Test 4 is style control and consistency, and it's the one that wrecks a project fast, because nothing looks more amateur than a character or a product that shifts slightly between shots. Luma is generally credited with more predictable style direction, and it holds up especially well on single reference work like face swaps or clothing swaps across frames. Kling is credited with preserving a reference image's identity a little better, and producing more natural facial motion, and its multi-shot system is built specifically to keep a character and its environment consistent across an entire sequence. Neither one clearly beats the other here. It comes down to whether your project is a single consistent shot or a multi-shot narrative. So test 4 is a tie. That's still 2-to-1, Kling, with 1 tie on the board. Last test, and it's easy to skip past, but it still matters if it locks you out entirely. Test 5 is platform availability and limits. Both Luma and Kling ship a full web app and an API in 2026, so access itself isn't really a differentiator anymore. The one real structural wrinkle is that Kling runs a separate China domestic site with its own pricing and promotions sitting alongside its global product, while Luma keeps a single, unified setup. Test 5 is a tie 2. That's a detail worth knowing, but it doesn't change what most viewers outside that region will experience day to day. That's the final score, 2-1 Kling, with 2 ties, so here's what each one earned. Luma took generation speed with its faster default render, and it held its ground on style consistency for single reference work, staying competitive everywhere else without ever taking the top overall score. Kling took output quality on the current blind vote leaderboards, and it took pricing and credits with a real free tier and a cheaper entry point. It also tied the last two, which came down less to raw performance and more to what you're actually building. Neither one ran the table, and that's the honest scoreboard after 5 real tests. Here's the actual call, and it depends on what you're making. If you need the fastest single clip out the door on a deadline, or you're doing face swap or clothing swap work where single reference consistency matters most, pick Luma. If you're just starting out, watching your budget, or you care most about topping the current quality leaderboards, pick Kling. My default pick, if you're deciding which one to commit to first, is Kling, because it wins the 2 categories that matter most when you're choosing your very first tool, quality and price. And it lets you test all of that with a real free tier before you spend a single cent, which takes most of the risk out of trying it. One thing the pricing pages don't spell out clearly enough. Both platforms run on use it or lose it credits. Kling's free daily credits expire the same day, so if you don't use them, they're just gone. Luma's monthly plan credits reset when your billing cycle restarts too, and they don't carry forward. Only separately purchased top-up credits stick around, and those are good for a year. A lot of people pay for a tier, get busy for a week, and lose credits they already paid for without ever noticing. If this helped, the next breakdown on the channel goes even deeper.